Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from Brussels and Luxembourg, as today we are both in Brussels and Luxembourg. Thank you for joining us to this online info session about Schuman traineeship at the Translation Service of the European Parliament. We are very happy to have you here. As you may know, the application period for Schuman traineeship has started at the beginning of May, and it will be open until the end of the month, so until the 31st of May. This is why we're having this online session today to give you all the information that you may need in order to check whether you are eligible for a Schuman traineeship, to learn maybe how to prepare a very good, very strong application. And we would also like you to hear from our current trainees who are currently doing a Schuman traineeship at the Translation Service of the European Parliament, so that they can tell you a bit more what it is and that you can know a bit more what to expect. Each year, the European Parliament welcomes hundreds of Schuman trainees, and you could be one of them. So for the current round of applications, the translation service has 85 positions, but it's important to underline that we don't have only translation positions. We also have positions in other units that deal with IT or communication or human resources. My name is Hélène, and I'm very happy to welcome today several colleagues. So we will start with Carla, Elena, and Petra, who are working in the traineeship unit of the translation service. So these three persons are taking care of every cohort of trainees when you arrive. So if you're lucky enough to start a traineeship with us at the translation service, you will meet them. And then I'd like to also welcome Veronica, who is working in the trainee outreach and recruitment unit. That unit is dealing with all the Schuman traineeships of the European Parliament. You might have seen the name of this unit if you have already started looking at offers, because that's the contact unit. So that's the email that you see everywhere. Thank you, Veronica, for joining us. And I'm also very happy to welcome two of our current trainees, Eilish and Kaya, who are currently doing their traineeship at the Translation Service of the European Parliament. So I'd like to explain a bit how this session will be. It will be roughly 1 hour, and we have divided it in three parts. In the first part, Carla, Elena, and Petra will present the traineeship offers that we have at the translation service and maybe give you tips about on how to prepare a successful application. During the second part of our session, we'd like to have a discussion with our two current trainees so that you can hear what they do, what they like about the traineeship, how Luxembourg is like, and anything else that you might want to hear about their traineeship. And in a third part, we wanted to keep that part for Q&As. So for your questions, the chat is open. There is a chat option. You can write your questions already. Maybe wait a bit into the presentations, because maybe we will answer most of your questions before, but you can always write them. We will try to answer some of them in writing, and otherwise try to take as many as possible in the last part, in the Q&A part of this session. So I think we can move to the first part. So I would like to stay with Carla, Elena, and Petra. And I think, Carla, Elena, Petra, I think our audience is here today because they're thinking about applying for Schuman traineeship. So what should they know?
Yes, what should they know? Thank you so much, Hélène. Could you go to the next slide, please? So, what kind of Schuman traineeships do we offer? Do you hear me well? I suppose so, right? So, thank you so much. As Hélène was saying, we not only have translation-related traineeships, but we also have, of course, IT-related traineeships or traineeships more focused on editing or the visual. This list is not exhaustive, and we advise you to check the different offers that we are currently advertising, knowing that throughout your traineeship, you will not only learn about work of the unit or the service where you'll be doing your traineeship, that then where you'll be integrating, but also the work of our Director General, its role and importance within the European Parliament, and also how its work impacts our daily lives, which is also very important. Next slide, please. So you would be and you will be integrating a multicultural environment. And what do we expect from you? That you are a motivated person, that you are willing to learn, but also willing to share your knowledge and skills with us. So that you have good writing skills, of course, they're important, but also IT skills and an active practice of languages, particularly important if you are thinking of applying to a traineeship in the translation unit. So fresh ideas and creativity, of course. They are very much welcome and encouraged. You will integrate a team. You'll be part of a service, a unit. You will learn about that work. You need to speak with your colleagues, learn more about the work, but also you'll be integrating a larger group of people who are doing projects. You'll be requested to give your opinion on them and many other activities. Next slide, please. So what can we offer? And I'll leave the floor to one of our coordinators. Elena, please.
Thank you, Carla. So a traineeship with us, it's really a unique opportunity to see the European Parliament from the inside. And for us, multilingualism is not just a theoretical concept. It's something that we put into practice every day, and you would be a part of that as a trainee with us. You would gain experience and develop skills for your future career. In our Director General, we have developed a specific program for our own trainees that we call the Traineeship Academy. And within that program, we organize training and workshops specifically for our trainees. As Carla already mentioned, you also get the opportunity to learn about the work going on in other units in the DG, not just your own one. And on top of that, we normally organize study trips to Brussels and to Strasbourg. And that is to allow our trainees to see the other parts of the Parliament and to learn how the translation services fit into that work that goes on everywhere in the institution. And then finally, we also organize visits to other EU institutions. You will have a supervisor in your unit, and you often also work with other colleagues who will help and guide you in your daily work. So, is this traineeship paid? Yes, and we will see the details on the next slide, please. What is a traineeship like? As mentioned, we have 85 offers. Most of them, 82 actually, are in Luxembourg and 3 are in Brussels. But as you can see here, the pay, the grant is the same. It's 1,889 euros per month. The cities are, even if they are different in character, Luxembourg and Brussels, they are both very international. They both host several EU institutions, and they both allow you to meet a lot of new people. We will let our current trainees explain and will share their own impressions of Luxembourg as a city later on in this session. The next slide, please. So who can apply for the October 2026 intake? And now I will leave the floor to my colleague Petra.
Thank you, Helena. Hi, everyone. So who can apply? anyone over 18. There is no maximum age limit. So even if you're in your 30s, 40s, or older, please take a look. If you find something interesting, do consider applying. We value your experience and your knowledge. There have been such trainees during previous intakes, and their experience was overwhelmingly positive. You do have to be a national of an EU member state, even though there are limited opportunities offered to nationals from other countries as well. However, for this intake, you do need to have a university diploma. Though keep in mind, as my colleagues already mentioned, it can be in any subject. We really need and valued expertise in different fields and domains. Of course, you also have to have a perfect command of one of the official EU languages, and at least one. But for linguistic units, for language units, you need to have a thorough knowledge of two other EU languages as well. It always pays to really carefully read through the conditions of any traineeship post you are interested in. You're also not eligible if you have worked or if you have been a trainee for more than 2 months in any EU institution or body, or if you have been a study visitor during the 6 months before the start of the traineeship. Now, all these eligibility criteria are described more in detail in the rules, which have been uploaded as a PDF at the bottom of the application page. So please take a look at them as well. Also keep in mind there is a document called FAQs, frequently asked questions, which is very practical, and it has answers to a lot of frequently asked questions. So take a look at it as well. If we can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so when to apply? Well, I hope you know the answer is now. So you have the month of May to apply. You have until the 31st of May, but please don't wait that long. I mean, the application process does take a bit of your time, so it's better to prepare in advance and not to wait for the last day. Really keep that in mind. Of course, you may already know we have 2 sessions per year. So the next session after this October intake, as we call it, will be in spring 2027. The application month for that intake will be in October as well. So when to apply, you already know that. Where to apply, you can always just Google traineeships at the European Parliament. Our websites will pop up, but you can also, of course, scan this QR code or use the link below it to get to the application page. So next slide, please, as well. Thank you. Okay, so some recommendations. You've decided to apply, you know when to apply, what to keep in mind. Whenever you are going to apply, do it on time. Please don't wait for the last moment. Take a look at the traineeship offers, select the best fit for you, and then read through it, through the traineeship offer, through all the conditions very carefully. Take a look at what is expected from you. When you are preparing your motivation letter, please check in which language it has to be submitted. For language units, it's usually in the language of that unit. So, for example, if you're applying for a Polish translation unit, the motivation letter would be in Polish. Please, you do know that you can apply to a maximum of 3 positions. Please adapt your motivation letters to each position. This is quite important. Put some effort into it as well, because it is noticeable when a person has really, personalized each motivation letter, and when they have spent some time on it. Always be honest, of course, in the motivation letters, and creative, but not too creative. So Thank you. If we can move to the next slide, please. And what after the traineeship? Well, my colleague Helena will elaborate more on that.
Yes, thank you, Petra. So what are the recruitment possibilities after the traineeship? One of the advantages of doing a Schuman traineeship is that you could be selected for the Schuman recruitment and development program in order to work with us later. More information on that specific program is also available on the website where you apply. And even if you would not end up not being selected for this program, in the end, a traineeship will always be an added value to your CV and an opportunity for you to create your own network. So if we move now to the next slide, please. And at this point, I will hand the floor back to Elin.
Yes, thank you. So we have put here the email address to which you should address any questions that you have on the application process, basically. You probably only already know the address if you have been looking a bit at the offers. So this is a trainee outreach and recruitment unit, and they will answer any question you might have that we don't answer during this session. And on the next slide, you will see all our social media channels to follow the translation service of the European Parliament. So keep in touch with us. You can scan the QR code. You can follow us on social media. We usually advertise the traineeship campaign. So if you decide not to go for this one, but do not want to miss the next one, you can follow us and we will tell you exactly when to start applying. I'd like to thank our colleagues from the traineeship unit of the translation service for their excellent presentation. I'm sure now a lot is much clearer for our audience. So thank you very much. I'd like to remind everyone of, I think, 3 important points that we would really like you to remember. First, the deadline, I think that was clear. We said it several times. It's the 31st of May. No application will be accepted after that date. So be sure to apply before. And as my colleagues have already said, it is really important to start your application a bit before because it takes time. Writing a good motivation letter is important, and it's better if you start the process a bit before. So do not connect at the last moment. The other thing we wanted to remind you is that though we are the translation service of the European Parliament, we have other positions, not only in translation, also in IT services. We're looking for people to work with speech to text. We're looking for quality coordination, as I said before, communication, HR. So have a look at our offers and to see the whole diversity of it. And the last point is something my colleagues also have underlined. It's the importance of writing a good motivation letter. So take your time doing that. We will now move on to our second part, the second part of this session. And for this, I would like to welcome Eilish and Kaya, who are 2 Schuman trainees who have been with us since the beginning of March. Eilish studied languages and linguistics, and she is doing her traineeship currently at the Irish Translation Unit. Kaya, on her side, studied general linguistics and English studies, and she's now doing her traineeship at the Text and Publications Translation Unit. So, Kaya, Eilish, I think it would be great if you could introduce yourself a little bit to our audience, a bit more in detail than what I just did. So, Kaya, maybe you could start?
Sure. Hi. My name is Kaya. I'm from Slovenia. Like already said, I studied general linguistics and English studies at the University of Ljubljana. So within my unit, I actually work with the Slovenian team. So I translate from English into Slovenian. And the work of my service mostly deals with multimedia content and audiovisual translation. So it's intended for the general public. And why did I decide to apply? I've always really been interested in languages and international communication and kind of how they are connected through translation. And I've also always loved experiencing this multicultural European environments. I mean, I've been on 2 Erasmus, as you know, so I really fell in love with the multilingual international European environment. And so after my studies, I wrote my thesis on the topic of English as a European lingua franca among Erasmus students. So again, connected to this topic. And after my studies, I wanted to get some hands-on experience in translation within this multilingual environment and to see how it all works at the European level.
Great, thank you very much. Sorry, I was looking to unmute myself. It took time. So, Eilish, it was to give you the floor. So go ahead.
Great. Hi, everyone. So I'm Eilish. I'm from Ireland. And similarly to Kaya, I started on March the 1st with the cohort of Schuman trainees. So I am working in the Irish translation unit, and my main task here is translating from English into Irish. And sometimes as well, I can use my third language, Spanish. So sometimes I'll also have text from Spanish into Irish as well. So as I mentioned, it's mostly legislative text that I'm dealing with. And my background is that I would have studied as an undergraduate degree, linguistics and languages. From that then I actually went on to study a master's in education. So I've actually worked as a teacher and have spent time prior to this working as a teacher. So translation is a very new field for me. And that was one of the main reasons I chose to apply for the Schuman traineeship. I was really interested in translation. I haven't had experience in it before. So I really wanted to get that opportunity. So this traineeship was the perfect opportunity for me. Also living abroad was a really important aspect, and is something that I was interested in doing as well. So that's why I would have chosen and that I was interested in this traineeship.
Great, thank you. I think that's a very important piece of information, what you said about not having any experience in it, because I'm sure some people are wondering, can I start doing a traineeship in translation without having any experience? So there you have your answer. And that links to my next question, actually, because a question that we get often is, um, how is it the first days when I arrive there? I mean, also from trainees just before they start, is what do I need to know before? What do I need to prepare? So maybe you could explain a little bit more about how were the first few days of your Schumann traineeships? If you were expected to know everything beforehand, if you were left completely alone with translation, such things. So maybe Eilish, you could start.
Of course. So as I mentioned, translation is a completely new field of work for me. And the one thing that I remember very well about my first few days is I felt very much at ease. It was very, very well structured. The first few days we were, even before we started, we were provided with a welcome program. And that was a great opportunity there was different activities, and it was really, really structured in terms of we got an opportunity to meet other fellow trainees as well. And also one thing that's important for me is, for example, with my unit and the Irish unit, all our offices are here together. I'm in an office with other colleagues. So very much from the minute you come in the door, there's a support system there, and people are always so encouraging and always so willing to help you. There was tools for here with translations that I had never seen before, and very much it was a case of step by step. I was shown how to use these tools, and for my first few days. So absolutely, I mean, you can come here, rest assured that you'll be at ease, and that you'll be shown the way.
Great, Kaya. Was your experience of the first few days also as good as this one?
Yes, it was pretty similar. And to add to Elisha already said, we also receive a supervisor and, like she already said, colleagues. They all support us in our tasks. The environment is very supportive, very encouraging. So they give you guidance, you receive a lot of feedback, and it's a very collaborative process as well, maybe discussing certain translation solutions. So you're not just thrown into the thick of it. You are eased into the workflow. You start translating, of course, but it's supervised, it's slow. So it's a learning process. The entire traineeship, I would say, is a learning process. You are meant to learn something, so it's not meant to be stressful. And yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So it looks like the first few days you're really introduced slowly to everything and to all the tools. Now let's imagine you've been here some time, and in your case, you've been here 2.5 months. Um, how does it look like afterwards? I mean, what are your usual tasks? Maybe you can tell us a bit more about the type of tasks that you get. What does a normal day look like? And maybe also point out to one of the tasks you like the most. Maybe Kaya could continue then on this.
So my tasks are mainly translation related. Sometimes also I would say translation adjacent. For example, some terminology research, localization, revision, things like that. So like I already mentioned, I translate from English into Slovenian, and I work with texts for the Slovenian general public. So it's articles, website content, citizen stories, short news, and I also sometimes do subtitling, which is actually requires a little bit of a different approach. So that's also makes my work very varied and interesting. And what I find very engaging is that I not only translate the text itself, but I need to make it natural, clear, accessible to Slovenian readers. So I really enjoy the moments where I can collaborate with my team. And one of my favorite tasks actually is that I often translate content about, let's say, European hot topics or burning issues. So I've actually learned quite a lot more about Europe. So it's not just that I've gained translation skills. I've also learned quite a few things about general European hot topics, let's say, or current issues.
So it sounds like the work of a translator or the trainee translator is everything but boring. No, I have the feeling you're doing a lot of varied exercises. Okay, Eilish, tell us a bit more about your usual normal day.
Perfect. So I think what Kaya mentioned there was really interesting. So as I mentioned, I'm translating mainly from English into Irish. And what that looks like for me, it's legislative text. There could be varied formats and varied documents. And what that looks like from a day-to-day, but very basically, is that when I get a document, the document is already split up. So I'm working with segments and I'm translating my segments. That could be one sentence, two sentences. And we're finalizing, and when I'm happy with this translation, then I will send it to a supervisor, someone will revise it. And when I get that back, then I'm correcting, making any finalizations to it, and then this is the finalized translation. So as Kaya mentioned, I suppose what I really enjoy is that I'm learning loads on the job. There's a lot of these topics that to be honest with you, I wasn't familiar with, and you have to do a little bit of research when you're translating as well. So definitely that is really interesting. But I also want to mention as well that not every day is sitting down at your desk and it's, your normal day can look like as well. We've had great opportunities to go on a mission or on to study visit to Brussels, which I must say was one of my highlights of the traineeship so far. A great learning experience, great to see how the other parliament works and to see even the differences, to be able to compare between where in Luxembourg and Brussels. We also have more visits as well coming up, and that's also part of your daily life as well as a trainee here.
It's great that you hear that you're both so enthusiastic about your work. It brings me back to the days when I was a translator and reminds me how much I loved it. That's great. I hope it inspires other people to come for a traineeship as well. So I understand you have a lot of work, but I've heard that you also have a lot of social activities with other trainees, right? Could you tell us a bit more about that? I don't know, maybe Eilish, you'd like to start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You're completely correct. We've a fantastic group of Schuman trainees, and I think that's one of the one of the benefits as well of starting a traineeship is that you're here, you're with like-minded colleagues, and we're very lucky that we have a student Schuman's trainee committee, and that's basically a committee made up of Schuman trainees, and they organise events for us. So various events, for example, we could have day trips, weekend trips. There could be picnics at the park. Sometimes it's nights out. It's a wide variety of activities they put together, and it's a great way to meet people like that that are in the same position as you. Also, people that have moved to a new city, which I think is important. And that's something that's a huge benefit as well. Another thing as well, with the committee, is that we self-organize language classes. So I'm actually currently teaching Irish to other Schumann trainees that are interested in learning Irish. So it's a fantastic, it's very collaborative. We're always there as support for each other, and like that, the activities that are organized are fantastic and really add to the experience as well of the traineeship.
Great. Wanted to ask if I can join the Irish classes, but of course I'm not a trainee, so I'm not allowed. I know it's only for trainees, but great to hear that you have these opportunities to learn also from each other. Kaya, anything else you would like to add about the social activities?
Yeah, so I, on the other hand, am taking a language class. I'm relearning Italian, so that's been really, really fun. I'm very grateful that other trainees organize these classes, yeah, language classes. Um, I feel like even at the parliament, for example, we have a lot of social events. There are small concerts very often, language cafes where you can practice or learn a language in a very informal, relaxed setting. So even, for example, after working hours, trainees often go for drinks or go to the movies, do very fun activities together. So work is not boring, but social life is also most certainly not boring. It's very active and very lively.
Great. So, from what I understand, even though you moved to a country you probably didn't know, you don't feel alone right now, and you feel supported and met a lot of new people. That's great. So, talking about this subject about moving to a new place, you're both in Luxembourg, which is one of the three places of work of the European Parliament. Um, some of our traineeships, as we said, are in Brussels, but the bulk of it is in Luxembourg. So, as I guess that Luxembourg is not as well known for my audience as other European cities, maybe you could say a little bit about what you like maybe in Luxembourg. Why is it so special? What you knew before, or whatever comes to your mind. I don't know. Kaya, probably you continue on that.
Yeah, so yeah, I have to admit, like you said, before coming to Luxembourg, I didn't really know much about it, but I do come from a very small country, Slovenia, and also very green country. So I guess Luxembourg is similar to it in that respect. So I did feel right at home, but it's also very international. It's an incredibly multilingual city. You can hear several languages spoken every day on the tram in the city center, because many workers are international. They work for many different EU institutions, so it's very easy to meet people from all over Europe, even from different parts of the world. And the quality of life is also great. It's very safe. I feel very safe in this city. Public transport is free. So that is amazing, and it's also easily accessible. For example, I live on the other side of the city from the European Parliament, but it's very easy for me to get to my workplace because the public transport is so efficient and free, and the buses are usually on time. The tram is amazing, so I love it.
Great, that sounds good. Eilish, do you have any other things that you would like to share about Luxembourg? Did you know it better before you came?
To be honest, I very similar to Kaya, that I didn't know, a whole lot what whether it was to do and so on in Luxembourg. But and as Kaya mentioned there's loads in the city, very multicultural, multilingual, but also even just outside the city, we're very close to greenery, we're very close to nature. There's lots of castles around the country, and for example, at the weekends, I often like to go. There's lots of hiking trails um, around the country, and again with free public transport, very very easy, very very accessible. And I find it's a lovely Sunday activity, for example, to do with friends. Um, but also Luxembourg itself, it's located very centrally in Europe. So I found that I've had the opportunity to travel to cities in Germany, France, Belgium, and like that, they're all very close. So Luxembourg is really, really well situated if you want to do a little bit of traveling as well around here. Um, and just one other thing, I suppose, I think it's important to mention about Luxembourg is accommodation. It's something to keep in mind if you're accepting a traineeship, and really, when you accept your traineeship, maybe to start the search on accommodation as soon as you can. Accommodation, it's can be quite hard to find, and it can be quite expensive. So really, the sooner you can start, the better. But similarly to Kaya, I actually live outside the city. But again, with the public transport, I find it really accessible. I find the commute really, really doable. So that's also another option. But it's just to keep in mind when you're accepting a traineeship here.
Did you find easily yourself? Did it take a long time? Did you get any help to find
I did
accommodation?
what I did is like that. I had sought advice here, even with contacts, any contacts that I had in the parliament. I had used all your websites, different groups, as well, that I could find on Facebook. So you do have to do a little bit of searching. Did look for help, as well. It takes a bit of time, and but you will get there. Absolutely, accommodation is here. But I suppose the most important thing is to give it time. You mightn't find accommodation, a few days after you start searching. So, and again, with trainees starting at the same time as well, it can be kind of hard as well, with a lot of people looking for accommodation at the same time. So really, just the sooner you can start, the best.
Kaya, was there something you wanted to add to this? Or
Yeah, also the parliament itself provides some tips on this, so you are not left alone even in the accommodation search. You get a lot of help even in this. So yeah.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Tambeng. Also, sorry, mixing languages. Thank you very much also for bringing this topic, because I think it's important that future trainees or people who would like to become trainees know about that. So that's great. We talked earlier with our colleagues about the importance of doing a good application letter, a strong application letter, and having the right application. And I think it would be interesting for our audience to have it also from your perspective. So not just from us looking at the applications that we get, but for you, how was it to prepare your application letter? Or rather, would you have any tips for people who are listening to us on how to prepare the best? Also, thinking, I don't know if it was the first time that you applied or if you had tried several times, because we have some trainees that apply several times in a row until they get it. So yeah, let's see about your experience on the application and what tips you would give. Sorry, who would like to take that first? Yeah, okay, Elise, go ahead.
I'll take that one. Perfect. So what I would say, and I suppose to reiterate as well what was said previously, is it's very important to take your time. Don't rush the application. Read in detail what's involved in each position, and really consider what would be the best fit for you, but also and which one you can see yourself. applying for. So really to take your time with that, tailor your application as well to the exact position that you're applying for. So don't, if you're applying for three different, is it going to be the same application or motivation for all three, is also very important. And make your application specific to the institution, and reflect that. And I suppose you want to reflect and reflect yourself on why do I want this traineeship, why do I want this position, and to make that clear as well in your application.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely important to let your personality and your motivations come through and reflect who you are, because the person who will be reading your application, your motivational letter, wants to get a sense of who you are, why you want to undertake this traineeship, what interests you, and so on. And I would say also think about your experiences, your interests, your achievements, and even if they seem irrelevant or consider them, perhaps they will make your application more personal or even more interesting. I feel like sometimes experiences might seem unrelated, but they can create some interesting connections, or they might be some transferable skills, for example, that you've developed. So consider that as well. And I would also say, don't underestimate yourself. Sometimes some people hesitate because they think, oh, I don't have enough experience, but as Eilish said earlier, even if you don't have experience, this traineeship is really meant to help you learn and give you experience. So I would say definitely apply.
Thank you very much. I hope now that our audience knows a bit more what they should put into their motivation letter, or how to think about it. I must say, I really related to what you said about experiences that seem unrelated sometimes, because I know it happened to me reading a lot of applications for this traineeship program, that once it was a very particular something in the interest or hobbies that drew my attention, where it wasn't necessarily the experience or the work that draw the attention. When you have a lot of applications to look at, it can really make the difference. So I think it was really an important point. Now you're in the middle of your traineeship. I hope that you, or I don't know if you already have a sense, and maybe that could help some people decide now if they're still hesitating whether to apply or not for the Schuman traineeship. How do you think this traineeship will impact your career? Do you already sense that? Can you say something about that? I don't know, Kaya, if you would like to start. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I feel like this traineeship has already given me a lot of professional experience, and I'm only, let's say, halfway through it. I feel like I've become more adaptable and more confident in a workplace setting, and it's also definitely confirmed my interest in working in this, international multilingual environment, especially European environment. So I'm getting a lot of practical experience, both in terms of translation and the tools and workflows behind them, but also in terms of European institutions and the environment that they offer. So I feel like this traineeship for me is a very good stepping stone, maybe towards a potential career either in translation or linguistics, or a potential career in the EU institutions. So I feel like all the skills that I've gained will definitely benefit me in whichever career I decide to take after it.
What Kaya mentioned is very relatable, and she's mentioned really good points there. For me, as I mentioned before, it's translation is new for me, and it really has opened a whole new career path for me. And so so that's absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoy the work. Also, like that, the skills that you're learning both professionally, linguistically, also with working with legislative texts and really high standard of language. That's also a huge skill for me that I'm bringing forward. Networking, you're getting to know different people. You're looking not even necessarily, if you're going to continue in the same job that you're doing the traineeship, but you'll hear a lot more about different opportunities that might be available to you that you just mightn't have been aware of before. But for me, certainly working in the EU and EU institution has been a huge learning experience as well. Seeing how the Parliament functions, again from our study visits as well, give us a great insight into that. But working here on a day-to-day basis, it has been a fantastic experience, and definitely, as I mentioned, is opening up a lot of other paths as well for me.
Thank you. Thank you to both for this wonderful insights into how it is to be a Schuman traineeship at the European Parliament. We're really, really grateful that you accepted to be with us on this show, because we can talk as much as we want about how it is to do a traineeship with us. I think it's really important for people to hear it from other trainees who are there at the moment, and to hear that enthusiasm that you have. So it's great for us. Thank you so much. We'll move now to the third part of our session, so the Q&As. And for this, I would like to welcome back our colleagues. So the three colleagues from the traineeship unit of the translation service, Elena, Carla, and Petra, and also Veronica from the trainee outreach and recruitment unit, that is dealing, as I said, with all the Schuman traineeships in the European Parliament. And together we will try, or they will try, so the trainees and our colleagues will try to answer all the questions that you might have. So let's start with the first one, which I think would be very useful, because many people can wonder about the same thing. So what is the post A, post B? Because we have a lot of applications where it says post A, post B. So the question is from Nardine. What is the post A, post B? Should we apply to both of them when it comes to the same translation unit? I don't know who would like
Well,
to take
I
the question.
can already start answering. So post A and post B are referring to two identical positions or two identical offers within a certain unit or service. So it's just because they have two offers published. So it's the same, knowing that the candidate only can apply to three, only has three opportunities. So in the end, it's up to the candidate to see how he wants to distribute those opportunities. But knowing that it is the same position, you don't need to apply to the second one. Elena, maybe you as a coordinator also, you have had feedback from our supervisors on it.
Yes, indeed. The unit look at all the applications they have received. And as Gala said, we see that some candidates, they do decide to apply for both post A and B, maybe to really emphasize how interested they are. Whereas in some units say themselves that it's not necessary to do that, because they will look at all the applications they receive for their units. So it's up to you.
I can also jump here from the perspective of a trainee, because I remember that I applied to both because I could only apply to Slovenian translation positions, and I wanted to maximize my chances to go to Luxembourg. So that's why I, applied to all, and then one in Ljubljana, but from a viewpoint of a trainee.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's really good to have both points of view. I have another question from Silvia Schettini. Does this program run every year? I don't know who would like to take the question.
Maybe I can jump in. Since it's our flagship program, traineeship program of the European Parliament. So it runs twice per year. There are two traineeship campaigns that last 5 months. One starts in October and one starts in March. And the application period for each of these sessions is always beforehand. So as you see now, the application period for the traineeship starting in October is in the month of May. But for the traineeship that will start in March 2027, the application period is in the month of October.
Thank you. I'll take the next question. Sorry, I'm looking here at the questions. We have a question from Emma Nunes-Cicoli. Sorry if I don't say it well. If I was a European Solidarity Corps volunteers, can I apply? I don't know if someone can take that question.
I think I can take it again. In what eligibility criteria are concerned, normally being a volunteer would render you eligible, so you can still apply. For instance, yeah, in the European Solidarity Corps, or if you have done some volunteer work with the European Youth Event, for instance, that would also be fine. It's more work experience or traineeship in an EU institution or body that would render you ineligible if the period was longer than 2 months.
Thank you. I have here a question about qualifications. I think we answered it, but maybe our colleagues can say a few words about it again. From Aohi, I have a question about qualifications. What happens if you already did a traineeship, and not EU traineeship on translation? I wonder if you're looking for zero experience candidates. So I don't know if anyone could take that question. What happens if you already did a traineeship on translation, but that traineeship was not EU?
Well, the person will still be eligible. I think Veronica can confirm also, because it's not in an EU institution or body. And the experience, I think in the past we've had the opposite question, like I don't have experience, or I have too much experience. We're looking, in fact, just read the offer. We're looking for people who do not necessarily need much experience. It's really well described in the offer. Everyone is welcome, so that's why it goes from 18 years old and plus. So of course, those will be, if you have someone with 40 years old or 50, they'll have much more experience than someone who is 18, right? If Veronica wants to add something else, go ahead.
I can just confirm that this will not be an issue for eligibility since it's not in an EU institution, and yes, it can be an added value if you've had some experience before. Yes, it can work in your favor. Why not?
Thank you. I have a question from Daria Maliano. Can we apply before graduating if we will have completed our studies by the time the traineeship begins?
So take this. This is a very good and important question, something that is reflected actually in the rules, and I highly recommend that every candidate reads them. There are the rules on the application page, as well as a frequently asked questions document there. Both of them will give you a lot of information, so you'll fill in your application with everything that you need. So it's important to note that you need to have obtained your full degree. That means at least a bachelor's degree at the latest 3 months before the start date of the traineeship. So that means that for the October 2026 session, you need to have graduated by the 1st of July 2026. If this is not your case, then you're welcome to apply for any of the following traineeship sessions, so March 2027 and onward.
Thank you very much. That was also new for me. It's also good information for me. Thank you. Another question about the documents they have to submit. So again, from Nardine. Nardine is quoting from the offer. Please also submit the relevant support documents, compulsory university diplomas, transcript of records, etc. And the question is, what is the etc.? Does it refer to recommendation letters? How do we submit them? So I don't know if any of our colleagues could take
Well,
that question.
the way to submit is clearly stated in the offer. We have developed templates, internal templates, in order to be very specific on what we are looking for. The etc. Well, relates to also what is stated in the offer. With the documents that we are asking for are already there. Could be a bit, I wouldn't say misleading. I understand the question, because it said there could be a lot of things, but it's always related to what we're looking for. So if you really read the offer, each offer could differ. Even if we have templates, we have different units, as Elaine also was saying before. Could be translation, could be horizontal units like HR, or even our unit, training and traineeships unit. So every unit has its specificities, and the documents that should be provided should be linked to what we are looking for and what is stated in the offer. always link to what is requested.
Thank you very much. I see in the chat we also have a question from LinkedIn, so I would like to share that. It's from Rita Puligedu saying, thank you so much for sharing all this precious information with us. I would like to ask, how is our language proficiency going to be assessed during the selection process of a translation unit? Are language certificates mandatory? The description of the position I'm interested in does not mention them explicitly. So it's true. In our translation units, how do we usually evaluate the language proficiency of candidates? Can anyone take that question from the
Well, I
translation
can
place?
jump in, and then my colleagues can join me if they want. Well, we ask our supervisors to, once they have a short list of candidates, and when we're talking about short list, doesn't mean that we are going to choose those candidates. Okay, it's just that we have created a list of potential candidates to have interviews at a certain point with those candidates, and during those interviews, they can assess, of course, the proficiency, the level, the language levels. Of course, I know that. Especially for October, we have emphasized the fact that we want certain levels of language. Those levels will be probably assessed during that conversation that the supervisor will have with the candidate. But no, we are not looking for specific certificates saying that that person has those levels. The person has to have them because it is requested there, if it is preferably or if it is really what we are looking for. But it's not that we are looking for something from some certificate. I don't know if my colleagues want to jump in also in that sense.
Apparently not. So I think you said it all, so that's great. I have a question that here that I think might be also of interest to everyone, and that trainees usually or often ask: how long does it usually take after the application deadline to know whether you've been accepted or not?
Maybe I can take this question because it refers to the whole process timeline. The timeline is published on the application page. So if you go to the Schuman traineeships application page, you can see also a diagram of what will happen. So in the month of May, we have opened the application process. So this will happen until the last day of May. As my colleague Carla said, it may be that later on you will be invited for an interview if you are among the let's say the candidates that were interesting to the services. But what is important to note is that by the beginning of July, or from the first day of July, I should say, until more or less the 14th of July, you'll receive a notification if you have been pre-selected. That means shortlisted. So among these top candidates. And even if you haven't been shortlisted, you will still get a notification from the European Parliament. Now, if you are the selected candidate, so the one that will actually get the traineeship position, this you can find out by the end of summer. So it's a timeline that stretches from the beginning of July until you find out this last answer until the end of summer. So this you can also find on the application page.
Thank you very much about that. I wanted to add a little point on that about when you receive or not the answer, which I think is really important because I'm also sometimes doing this process of recruiting trainees. And I think it's really important that all potential candidates understand that even if you're not selected, it doesn't mean anything about you. It just means that there was another offer or another application that at that moment was better, but you can try it again. And really do not get discouraged because we get a lot of offers and we cannot take everyone. But really, it is worth applying again. We've had trainees who got a traineeship when they were applying for the, I don't know, third time or something like that. Um, okay, I think we are slowly running out of time for the questions. So I would like to thank very much all our colleagues who were here today and the two trainees for taking the time to answer all your questions. We will try to answer the questions in the comments if there are some questions of yours that we haven't answered yet. So we'll try to answer them. We'd like also to remind you of the FAQs that were mentioned several times, but if you are on the website where all the offers are, there is an FAQ document, and most probably you will find the answer to your question there. However, if you still haven't found it, of course, you can reach out to this email address that we shared at the beginning, and that is also on the JustMax portal where you find all the applications. So the email address of the trainee outreach and recruitment unit, who will then answer all the questions you might have about the process, about the application process that you are now in until the end of the month. Before we finish, or rather, I'd like to finish with one last question to our trainees, and that is, what would be one takeaway that you have on your time at the translation service of the European Parliament? If you could share that with our audience. I don't know who would like to start.
I'll start there. So I suppose my main takeaway is getting an insight into the European Parliament, seeing what it's like to work here. And I must say that I very much felt like that I contributed and my work was valued. And I see that. I see how the work as a translator, you know, you're sitting here, you're working on your translations, but how that helps with the running of the Parliament. So for me, that's something I'll always I understand and I see the value of it. But of course, the skills, both personal, professionally, that I know that I'm bringing forward into my future career and going on past this traineeship has been invaluable for me. And it has been a fantastic experience.
Yeah, my answer is very similar. I think my biggest takeaway is definitely that I've gained much more than just professional experience. I've also gained, personal, intercultural, social, intellectual experience, and I've grown a lot. So I would definitely recommend to anyone who is even thinking of applying to do it, because it's an unforgettable experience. You really get an insight into how the European institution works. You gain a lot of skills, a lot of experiences. So you can also see if pursuing this kind of career is for you. So yeah, I encourage everyone to apply.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kaya and Eilish, for sharing your experience with us. Thank you to all the colleagues for taking part in this Q&A session, and I'm sure that helped a lot our audience. Our info session is coming to an end. We would like to remind you that the recording will be available until the end of this application period, so until the 31st of May, in case you want to see it again or go through the questions. Thank you also to the audience for joining us today, and we hope it has been a useful and helpful session for you. And I think we all wish you good luck with your applications. Thank you very much.